What is up, guys? Spot May here. UFC Freedom 250. The White House card is here. Takes place this Sunday, not Saturday. Gotta switch it up sometimes, I guess. It's a good card, though. Great card. Probably the best card we've had so far this year. The McGregor card might be a little bit better just because there's more fights and everything. But this is 7 banger fights, -1, which we'll get to. But nonetheless, let's get right away started. The first fight on the card. Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. This is a good fight. This is one that could go either way, really, if you really think about it. The odds are, Diego Lopez is a -170. Steve Garcia is +140. I think it makes sense. This is a very close fight. I am worried about the chin of Steve Garcia. He has been chinned before. And it does seem like the way to beat him is to chin him. And I think if someone gets chinned in this fight, it will be Steve Garcia, just because I think Diego Lopez is like one of the best chins in the UFC. So, I just don't see Steve Garcia being able to put away Diego Lopez. Like, he put away Chase Hooper, who's not known for taking punches. Nerdlin Mbeke, that's not a great win. Melquizael Costas is like his best win to date. Suwon Choi, meh. Kyle Nelson, meh. Calvin Kattar, decision, that's okay. And then the David Onama fight, of course, he just blitzed David Onama and put him out of there. That's good, but I don't think David Onama's that great. His best win, the ghost of Calvin Kattar, made it to a decision with him. Melquizael Costa is good, but he also seems like he doesn't have the best chin. In the Arnold Allen fight, he got clipped right away and got put down bad in like 30 seconds into that fight. So I don't know if I believe in the power of Steve Garcia, which is kind of crazy to say because he has fucking 15 KOs, 8 in the first round. But I don't know if I believe in the power of Steve Garcia when he's facing a guy like Diego Lopez, who I've seen Diego Lopez eat the shots of Gene Silva. He's eating front kicks to the face and barely getting wobbled. He's fought Volk twice. Volk wobbled him a couple times, but he was never able to put him down or anything. Danny Ige never was able to put him down. And those are a couple guys who are like the hardest hitters in the sport. Not the sport, but the division. Minus maybe Volk. But Volk has that, he has the skill, he has like the precision, he has the timing. Gene Silva has the skill and the speed and the craftiness to just land those shots. And he wasn't able to put Gene Silva away. Or not Gene Silva, he wasn't able to put Diego Lopez away. And I think Diego Lopez also has the grappling advantage. I think Diego Lopez can mix it up. Steve Garcia's never fought a guy with Diego Lopez level of grappling. Lopez has fought, of course, Evloev. They had a close fight. It could have gone either way. Was scored to Evloev in his decision on short on his debut on short notice. So this one is going to be a scrap, but I think it'll be a scrap until Steve Garcia gets dropped. Because Diego Lopez hits really hard. He has the frame advantage. It's the first time that Steve Garcia is fighting anyone his real size, other than maybe Melquizael Costa. But I think even Milk, he's 5'10". I don't think he's 5'11", 6 foot like Diego Lopez. Steve Garcia is going to have the reach advantage, which will help him with his straights. I think his boxing is going to be looking really sharp in this fight, but eventually they'll get in the pocket, and Diego Lopez is going to land a bomb over the top. Uppercut, a little shovel uppercut in the clinch kind of thing, or like a hook around the guard. It's going to sit down Steve Garcia bad, and Diego Lopez is going to follow up with the ground and pound and put him away in round 2. I do think it's going to be a scrap, though. I think Diego Lopez will be winning or losing until he wins kind of thing. So, yeah, but I'm going to go Diego Lopez by a second round KO. He's just fought the better guys. I think I can trust him more. I can't really trust Steve Garcia. The Melquizael Costa win is good, but Melquizael Costa hasn't really proven himself in the division too much. He's lost to Arnold Allen. He's beaten Danny Ige, but at this point, who hasn't beat Danny Ige, So he could win, and, he is the older fighter too, which I think is not a good thing. Diego Lopez is still 31, just getting into the prime of his career. He was pushed really early, and I think now he's kind of settling into his prime. Can get big KO. Alrighty, on to the fight that I do not care about at all. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. It's a fight I don't care about, but it is still a good fight. You know, Kyle Dawkins has the storyline of him being cut from the UFC. You know, he's clawed his way back. You know, Nickel's the golden boy who's had the spoon in his mouth. You know, silver spoon fed his whole career, kind of thing. You know, he gets cut from the UFC in 2022, goes on to win, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, 4 in a row. And then he comes back. He has that upset against Michel Pereira, which, you know, I did not see coming. That really shocked me. He KO'd Michel Pereira in a minute, which is impressive. You know, that is impressive to do because Michel Pereira is like a first minute kind of guy. Like, he has to get you out of there in that first 2 minutes or he's kind of cooked. He also blitzed Gerald Meerschaert and completely smoked him. Not as impressive, but still. And those are two guys who you could say those are impressive because Michel Pereira, it's the ghost of Michel Pereira at this point. Bo Nickel, on the other hand, you know, he had the Rodolfo Vieira fight, which was good. He looked good. He had the head kick. And he was kind of just out picking him at range. The Reina de Ritter fight, of course, happened. We all know what happened there. You know, the Paul Craig fight was kind of stinky. The Brundage fight was kind of stinky. He's had a lot of stinkers. And I think the Rodolfo Vieira fight is kind of brainwashing people a little bit into thinking that, you know, Bo Nickel has been, like, perfect because, you know, he really hasn't been. Like, before the Reina de Ritter fight, he's had a lot of stinkers in a row. Like, the Val Woodburn fight, that was his best fight, but it's Val Woodburn. The Jamie Pickett fight was even kind of stinky. Like, he couldn't really get him down. He had to hit him in the nuts to get him down. You know, it's just been too much. There's just been too much of it with Bo Nickel. Kyle Dawkins, you know, he got caught by Roman Dolidze in the clinch of the knee. He also submitted Jamie Pickett. Eric Anders finished him, which isn't great. You know, losing to Phil Hawes isn't great. Brennan Allen's not a bad loss. Dustin Stoltzfus is still in the UFC. You know, that's a win. But I just feel like I can trust Kyle Dawkins a little more here. He has the frame advantage. He's going to be a big guy compared to Bo Nickel. I'm pretty sure he's going to have like a 2-inch height advantage. He has a 2-inch height advantage with no reach advantage. I think he'll have a little bit of a reach advantage. And I think his straight punches are going to work really well. And if they get in the clinch, I see Dawkins doing the crafty body shots. You know, I don't see him letting Bo Nickel stall this fight out. And I think Kyle Dawkins is going to clip him with something bad and put him down, TKO him in round 3. I really do. I think he's going to drag this one out into the later rounds. And we've seen that Bo Nickel doesn't like really being in those later rounds. Bo Nickel doesn't really like adversity. He likes it when it goes his way on the striking. He doesn't like when people push a pace. He likes to kind of just go tit for tat on the feet, and I don't think Kyle Dawkins will allow that. I think he's going to grit down on the mouthpiece, and he's going to make it into a little bit of a brawl in those later 2 rounds, and eventually clip Bo Nickel with something that he can't handle in the temple and put him down. So I got Kyle Dawkins' 3rd round KO. On to Mauricio Hufi. Mauricio Hufi versus Iron Michael Chandler. Golly, who am I going to go with? You know what? I think Michael Chandler is going to grapple his way to the decision. Yeah! America, yeah! No, he's going to get stiffed in round 1. Yeah. Yeah, Chandler's getting put on a shirt. For real. This is going to be... Yeah, this is not going to be close. I mean, this is like... Yeah. Michael Chandler's now 40. Hoofy's not even 30. It's 11-year age gap here. 10 year. 10 year, 3 month. I don't know what to say about this fight. This is just not good matchmaking. This was the matchmaking I was talking about at the start of the video, where I was like, a lot of these fights are kind of really one-sided. But we're getting to that stretch here. Yeah, Hoofy's gonna sleep Michael Chandler round 1 with a left hand right down the middle. As Chandler's lunging forward, he's gonna get clipped. McGregor Aldo-esque. yeah, not as early as that fight. I think it'll be like halfway through the round. Chandler's going to charge for it. Bink, put out. Slumped. Bad. Out cold. Couple follow-up shots. It's over. Chandler could mix in the grappling here. I don't see it. He's washed. This is a washed version of Chandler. I would have picked, even if this was like the Chandler that fought Gaethje, I probably would have picked Mauricio Hoofy to beat him. Like if this was like maybe just after that fight. Like if this was after the Ferguson fight, I would pick Hoofy. So yeah, I don't know. He's just chinny. He's not chinny, but he's been chinned. He's been put down before. He's chinny to a knockdown. He's knocked down chinny. Like he'll get knocked down. Like Ferguson knocked him down round 1. Clipped him with something off balance, put him down. Patty was fucking him up in the feet. That's not a good look. Oliveira completely out-grappled him, dominated him. He did have that, 5th round where he clipped Oliveira and hit him with 50 shots behind the head, but that's like it's unfortunate. It really is. He took 2 years off to wait for McGregor. Never got the fight. He's turbo washed now, and I think Hoofy's gonna put him down with the left hand round 1. Not much to say about it. Maybe Chandler will slam himself. Maybe he'll pick up Hoofy and slam him and fucking KO himself. That could be kind of funny. On to another one of the one-sided matchups. Derek Lewis versus Josh Hokett. Another one where it's like, this could have been a good fight 4 years ago, but, Derek Lewis is 41. Josh Hokett's 28. I think Josh Hokett, here's how this fight's going to go. The fight's going to start, for like the first, Derek Lewis might sprint at him and throw something. Hokett's going to start a little slow the first 30 seconds, and then once he gets to like the 4:30 mark, Hokett's going to start pressuring. He's going to stab him with a 1-2, take him down, and assault him on the ground, to put it lightly. It rhymes with grape. He's going to Gable Stevenson Derek Lewis in this one. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be Gable Stevenson out there, just doing all kinds of ungodly things to Derek Lewis on the ground. Derek Lewis is going to get up. Josh Hokett is going to bring him down, hit him with ground and pound shots. When Josh Hokett grapples, he always just tries to beat the shit out of the guy as soon as he starts grappling. There's no positional control. There's no, okay, let's just stall out a little bit. He is trying to beat the shit out of you on the ground, and I think that's what's going to happen. And I think this one's going to go, I don't think this one is going to go past the halfway of round 1 before Josh Hokett TKOs him to the ground and pound. I think we're going to get like a minute 30 into the fight. Hokett's going to have him on the ground, and it's going to get stopped due to ground and pound. And it'll be another one for Josh Hokett. Moving up in the world. Probably going to fight Volkov next after this one. But yeah, I Derek Lewis could catch him if he tries to stand with him, which I'm a little concerned that Josh Hokett might be like, I can stand with this guy. I can knock this guy out. No, you can't, brother. No, you can't. Just take him down. Grapple. Derek Lewis does have a crafty little flying knee he could hit. I don't see that coming out. He might throw it, but it won't get anywhere near. And, it's also like one of the first times that Derek Lewis is fighting a guy smaller than him. But Hokett's like a little ball of speed. So that kind of helps him. He's just like in and out. So, yeah. Too fast. Grappling advantage. And Derek Lewis has been quitting lately. You cannot pick Derek Lewis after the Waldo Cortez Acosta fight. Genuinely one of the worst performances of any UFC fighter ever. Got hit with a jab, rolled to his back, and just gave up. Literally just gave up. And I could see that happening in this one. Maybe Derek Lewis is maybe he fakes, sprawls up, and then throws an overhand right. But I think that's the most that he'll be able to do in this one. On to Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Emian Zahabi. Sugar Sugar Sean versus Amian Zahabi. This is such a fucking hand-picked matchup. Like, the UFC... This is like when Sean fought Cheeto for the belt. And everyone was like, why the fuck is that the fight? You know, they just want to get Sean a win here. They want to build him up a little more. Amian Zahabi is 38. He's had, he's been clawing his way through the division, barely getting past these guys. Nothing wrong with that, but it does have to be said. He is on a 7-fight win streak, but before that, he lost to Vince Morales. Ooh. Before he got fucking slimed out by Ricardo Ramos. Ooh, he's beating some good names in there. Jav Basharov's fight, he kind of jittermaxed and he just kind of ran around. And, the Pedro Munoz fight was kind of forgettable. The Jose Aldo fight was an all-time scrap. The Vera fight was a scrap. But these are fights where he's barely getting by old man Jose. He's barely getting by the ghost of Marlon Vera at this point. Sean O'Malley beat the shit out of Vera for fucking 5 rounds. Schooled him. The perennial nerve kick in the first fight. Say what you want, but he did fucking school Vera in a phenomenal performance for 5 straight rounds and just fucking never even come close to being in danger in that fight. I mean, you can just look at their resumes, man. Sung Yadong, Marlon Vera, Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, compared to fucking old man Jose, the ghost of Vera, the ghost of Pedro, and then that's it. Javad Basharat, whoa, man. What a win, It's unfortunate, but because I do like Amian Zahabi. I want to make that clear. I'm an enjoyer of Ariel Helwani, But this is one that screams a Sean O'Malley TKO. Hit him with a left hand, kind of makes Zahabi do the chicken dance a little bit. O'Malley starts spinning. Wheel kick misses. Boom, whoa. Flying knee misses. He's getting close, though. Boom, right hand. Sits down Zahabi. Oh, he's down. Couple shots of ground and pound. Sugar's finally got the KO he's been looking for a long-ass time now. And that's pretty much it. Zahabi could drag us into the later rounds. Could mix in the grappling. I don't see it. His coach, Fares Zahabi, I think his name is. All-time coach. Coach GSP. One of the greatest minds in the sport. So if there's anyone who could whip up a game plan for Sugar Sean O'Malley, it is the Zahabi team. However, I just don't think Amian Zahabi is skilled enough to implement whatever game plan they come up with on a fighter to the scale of Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's really good. He's one of the fastest strikers in the division. He's long. He's gonna have a big frame advantage here. Yeah, he's a 3.5-inch reach advantage, 3.5-inch height advantage. He's gonna have the longer legs. I don't think he has to worry with the grappling at all, even though Zahabi's probably gonna try to mix it in. Zahabi's way of winning this is gritting down the 1.5 rounds, and then in the later half of the second and the third round, he kind of marauds Sean O'Malley and makes it dirty and gets in his face and scraps with him. And then he wins a split decision. If it's a fucking split decision, they're not going to go with Zahabi. They're going to go O'Malley. I don't care how close the fight is. I don't care if Zahabi wins fucking 30-27. They're going to go with Sean O'Malley. They're not giving this fight to Zahabi if it goes to the scorecards. And, it is what it is. O'Malley by KO. On to the co-main event. Alex Piera versus Serral Bongamin Gan. This is a fucking good fight, man. This is one that scares me. It really does. As an Alex Pereira enjoyer, this is one that it startles me a little bit, Pereira's been looking chunky, He's bulked up without a single doubt, I thought Cyril Gane was a lot younger. He's 36. It's 36-year-old versus 38-year-old. 13-3 versus 13-2. Both. Definitely two of the best strikers the UFC heavyweight division has ever seen. Probably the two best UFC strikers. The UFC heavyweight strikers. They're probably the two best ever. So, there's some glaze to this fight. I am going to go with Alex Pereira by 4th round TKO. I think in the 4th round, the left hook is going to find its home. I think the calf kicks are a big thing here for Pereira. I think he's going to win the calf kick battle. Volkov won the calf kick battle against Cyril Gahn, and he just kind of outstruck him in general in their fight, even though he got robbed. He rocked him with the spinning back fist. He kind of styled on Cyril Gahn, for being honest. But so he is really 12-3. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the story of the fight. I think Pereira's going to win the leg kick battle. I think he's going to win the kick battle. Cyril Gahn's probably going to be a little faster. He's probably going to be stinging him. I think Cyril Gahn will win the first 2 rounds, but Pereira, it'll be close. It'll be like a swing round, maybe round 2 will be like a swing round where some people think Pereira won it based off landing the better shots, and then some people are like, well, Gahn landed the volume. He stuck his head back a couple times. Might be some blood coming from it's Pereira. Round 3, the tide starts to turn. Gahn starts feeling those calf kicks. He starts limping a little bit. Pereira starts landing to the body. Starts landing his jab. Starts pressuring forward. Gahn's now circling. The tone's shifted. Before this, they were in the center, exchanging. Now Pereira's stalking him. He's getting better. He's landing the right. He's landing the jab. He's establishing his jab in round 3 while still kicking the calf, mixing it up to the body. And then round 4, more pressure from Pereira early. Gahn tries to jingle, gets him against the cage. Boom, the left hook lands. Gahn's hurt. Follow-up shots. It'll be like the Israel Adesanya fight finish-wise, but he'll clip him with an extra shot and put him down. Stop. They stop it right there. Alex Pereira is the new UFC interim heavyweight champion, the first ever 3-division champion in the sport. Not really, though. He hasn't fought Tom Aspinall, but that's a story for a different time. All he can do is beat the guy in front of him. And I think that's how the fight's going to go. I think Gahn will be winning early. It'll be like a changing point in the 3rd round. And then round 4. Yeah, round 4. Pereira's just going to stalk him down. It'll be like the start of round 5 against Israel Adesanya and Poatan of the first fight. That's what round 4 is going to be like in this one. But it's not going to be a standing TKO. Pereira's going to land an extra shot in there that puts him down. And they call it off. This is a sick fight, though. I am scared. Gahn is a big heavyweight. He's 6'5", with an 81-inch reach. He's light on his feet. He pitter-pats around the octagon. This is definitely, this is going to be a new challenge for Pereira, because this is definitely the biggest guy he's fought in. Maybe not the fastest guy he's fought. Izzy's probably faster than him. And Pereira did technically kickbox him in those 2 fights, even though Izzy was winning the first fight and he knocked him out in the second fight. Pereira was technically kickboxing him in those fights, which to me is a huge vote of confidence in him against Cyril Gahn. Even if you think Izzy's overrated, come on, he's still technically better than Cyril Gahn, who got out kickboxed by Volkov. Even though I love Volkov, but he's a plotty plodster. He is. You should be able to figure that out at this point in Cyril Gahn's career. Cyril Gahn's in insane shape. I don't think that matters, but, a lot of people are talking about that. Yeah, Pereira, 4th round KO. The left hook finds its mark, puts him down. On to the main event of the evening. Rufus versus Aptoro. Ilya Aptoro. The highlight's going to be put in the highlight reel again. Gaethje, Justin Gaethje has no chance in this one. He is better. There's better odds that the giant sculpture that they made falls and hits Ilya Topuria and crushes him than there is of Justin Gaethje winning this fist fight. And that's just being a hunted. I'm gonna be real. That's just keeping it a buck. That's just keeping it a buck 250. And we've seen Gaethje slumped before, not that long ago, by Max Holloway. He also just doesn't look like prime Gaethje anymore, which makes sense because he's 37. But in that Pimlet fight, he did look he looked like an old man Gaethje, you know. Old man Gaethje is here, and he's not as fast. He's not as fast twitch, you know. He doesn't throw as much. You know, he doesn't want to take one to give one anymore, which is good against Topuria, but also not, you know. El Matador, yeah, he's gonna clip him. He's gonna clip him. I was thinking this whole week and the whole time this fight was booked, I've been thinking that, you know, this is gonna be a really close fight though. You know, Gaethje's gonna be in there. He's gonna be landing the calf kicks. He's gonna be making it gritty. It's gonna get to like the third or the championship rounds in round 4 and 5. But now, the way Ilya's talking this fight week, I don't think so, man. I think Ilya's gonna go in there and sleep Justin Gaethje in round 1. I don't think this is gonna be a close fight at all. I think he's gonna march over there, start landing this combat, establish the jab early, get the calf kick going, start cruising, start bruising. Landing the jab, landing the low kick. You know, Gaethje's, you know, fucking drunk Uncle Maxing a little bit. But Ilya stays patient, and like right around the halfway point of round 1, Ilya lands a big right hand. Boom! Gaethje does the fucking woo, and he's all wobbled. Boom! Ilya's going for him. You know, he's on the hook. Gaethje stays alive though. You know, for an extra 30 seconds, he starts throwing. They're getting scrappy. He catches Ilya a couple times, lands a couple calf kicks after he's rocked. And then they're going to reset. And then when they reset, they're going to go for another exchange. Ilya's going to lunge an uppercut in and take Justin Gaethje's head off with an uppercut in round 1. As he dips down, as he tries to drunk Uncle Max, he's going to get fucking baptized and put on a shirt in front of his country, in front of his president, in front of his fucking family. Ilya Topuria, 18-0, first round KO by uppercut. Brutal. You know, this is a fucking close fight. You know, this is closer than, you know, it could get crafty. You know, it could get fucking competitive, especially if it goes, I was gonna say if it goes into the later rounds, but I'm not really concerned about Ilya's cardio at this point. I think he's kind of proven that he can go. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Justin, I think Ilya has a wrestling advantage, even if it gets to that, even if it is competitive on the feet and, like, Justin starts winning. I think Ilya can take him down and fucking submit him if he wants to. He can definitely take him down and control him. I mean, if we saw Fiziev get into an inverted triangle on Gaethje in their second fight, and he was there for the whole first round. So, if he can Fiziev can bank a round by grappling against Gaethje, Ilya can bank 3. You know, that's something he can use in his back pocket. But I just can't trust the chin of Gaethje anymore, man. He's so old, 37. He's taking so much damage. The Pimlet fight was a fucking scrap. He was getting tagged in that fight bad. The Fiziev fights were scraps. The Holloway fight was a scrap where he got fucking brutally KO'd. You know, he was getting stung in the Poirier fight before he head kicked him. The Fiziev fight, I've already said, was a scrap. The Oliveira fight was a scrap where he got knocked down bad. The Chandler fight was a fucking scrap. The Khabib fight wasn't really, kind of got destroyed. The Ferguson fight was a scrap. Cerrone, we kind of just destroyed him. The first Poirier fight was a fucking all-time scrap. The Eddie fight was an all-time scrap. The Michael Johnson fight. Like, he's just had so fucking many wars. At this point, I can't trust his chin against the guy, Ilya Topuria, who is probably the hardest hitter in the history of the UFC, pound for pound. I will say that. Like, this guy fucking KO'd Max Holloway, guys. This guy put Charles Oliveira out cold. You know, that's fucking hard to do. I don't care. This isn't a washed version of Oliveira. This is like this might be the best Oliveira ever. He doesn't have those. He's had like the wars where he's got clipped a bunch of times, but you know he hasn't had the fucking wars like Gaethje's had, man. Gaethje's had bar brawls back to back in his career. You know, and he's never stopped having them. You know, he still has them. It's not like he was just early in his career, he was scrapping, and now he's kind of figured. No, like he's still, even though he's patient Gaethje and he's much more patient, he's like a matured version of himself. He still gets in those fucking scraps where he's landing 10, dishing out 8. He dishes out 10. They land 8. You know, like he goes shot for shot with guys way too much, and you can't do that against Ilia Topuria because you'll get your fucking lights put out. I think that's what's gonna happen. So, UFC Freedom 250. I got Ilia by first round KO, Pereira by fourth round KO, O'Malley by third round KO. Jesus Christ. Josh Hawkett by first round KO, TKO. Hoofy by first round KO. Okay, I'm seeing a. I'm noticing something. I'll go Kyle Dawkins decision and a Lopez KO. There we go. Those are my 7 fight predictions. I do think this is a card that is made to have a lot of knockouts. Like they designed it that either way, a lot of these fights go. It's going to be a KO. Like Diego Lopez versus Tia Garcia. That's going to be a KO. Bone Knuckles Kyle Dawkins, man. Rizzo Hoofy versus Chandler. That's probably going to be a KO either way. Lewis Hawkett KO either way. O'Malley's a hobby. This is like a one that could go to decision for sure. Pereira gone. Could go to a decision. And then Ilia versus Gaethje is probably a KO either way. But anyway, those are my spot and my predictions. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Helps a lot. And peace out.